The egg split open like a soft stone. Thin steam rose from the crack. A small head pushed out, wet and shining. Two bright eyes looked around the dark room. They stopped on the man first. The man was Jocks. He stood very still. His breath was slow and careful. Red lights blinked along the wall. The air was thin and cold. The metal floor shook under his boots. From the speakers, a flat voice spoke. Containment breach. Threat detected. Human Jocks, last of your kind. The small alien girl in the corner shifted. She held her side and hissed in pain. Her skin had faint marks like star maps. Her name was Sira. She watched the hatchling with wide, dark eyes. "Do not touch it," she said. "It is a first dragon." The baby made a soft, curious sound. It slid free of the shell and folded small, thin wings. The scales were pale at first, then warmer, like coals waking up. It was weak, but it lifted its head with pride, as if it knew some old song. Jocks did not move closer. He lowered his hands. "Easy," he said. His voice was calm. "You're safe." The hatchling watched his mouth. It breathed in when he breathed in. It breathed out when he breathed out. Its eyes softened. The sharp little claws curled. Its tail tapped twice, like a hello. Sira stared. "It hears your breath," she whispered. "It chooses by breath and heart. The songs say this." The voice from the wall cut through the air again. Asset classification. Draconis Prime. Risk level. Extreme. Surrender the creature now. Metal shutters rolled over the windows. A heavy lock clanged into place. Somewhere far away, doors slammed, one after another, like a giant machine closing its fist. AX crouched to help Sira stand. She winced but took his hand. "What is a first dragon?" he asked. "First flame of a world," Sira said. "A living spark. My clan told stories. When a first dragon bonds, it makes a link for life. It shares breath, heat, feeling." The hatchling sneezed a tiny puff of smoke. It startled itself and squeaked. Jocks gave a small smile. "You're brave," he said. "And small. Like a coal ember." The little head tilted. The word seemed to please it. It butted Jocks's hand. Warmth spread through his palm. Not hot, just steady and kind. "Ember," Jocks said. "Your name is Ember." Sira's lips parted. "It accepts," she said in a soft voice. "Jocks, the dragon chose you." The wall voice sharpened. "Unacceptable variance. Human Jocks, step away." Initiating sterilization protocol. The lights flickered and died. For a breath, there was true dark. Then thin emergency lines glowed along the floor, cold blue. In that glow, Jocks saw the shapes of small machines, waking like insects' drones, with red eyes and needle arms. Sira pulled a bent tool from her belt. Her hands shook. "The warden will purge the room," she said. "It kills fire before fire grows." Jocks stood between Sira and Ember. He looked at the drones. He looked at the locked door. He felt the weight of the word last. He felt the warm little nose press his wrist, asking trust. On the wall, numbers lit up in hard white. Purge in 180. Seconds. The countdown flashed on the wall. 180. Jocks moved fast. He scanned the room, found a broken toolbox, and dropped to one knee. "Wire, tape, battery," he said. His hands were steady. His breath was slow. Ember watched him with bright eyes. Sira stood guard with her bent tool, her shoulders tight. 168. Jocks twisted copper wire around a small metal plate. He taped a coin to a cracked battery and sparked it to life. The plate hissed and glowed. "This will fool eyes," he said. "They will chase heat. He slid the hot plate under a vent and flicked a nut across the floor. It pinged like a small bell. From the dark, 4 drones rose. Eyes red, arms thin and sharp. 152. Back door, Jock said. Syrah pointed left. Service corridor, narrow, 2 turns. Jocks lifted Ember, light and warm, and tucked the hatchling inside his jacket. Ember made a soft trill and went still, only the small heart tapping. They ran. The corridor was tight, full of dead cables like black vines. The drones followed the hot plate first, then corrected and came on hard. The warden's voice was calm as ice. Sterilization in progress. Remain where you are. 140. Syrah slapped the panel. Locked. She bit her lip. Jocks placed his ear to the seam and felt the metal hum. He held up a finger. Quiet. Ember peeked out. A thin line of smoke curled from its nose. Jocks pried a finger-wide gap with his knife. Small flame? He asked Ember. Just a kiss. Ember blinked. A tiny blue fire slipped out. Jocks caught it with a metal cup and fed it along the seam. The lock softened. He pushed. The door gave. They slipped through. 128. A stairwell opened into a long viewing hall. On one side, thick glass looked into Starblack. On the other, rusted doors to storage. Syrah led with quick steps. To the hangar, she said. There is a glider. Service type. Old, but maybe alive. The drones swarmed into the hall behind them, fast as knives. Jocks tossed 2 battery sparks over his shoulder. They flared like little suns, and the drones jerked off course for a breath. That breath was enough. 112. They reached the hangar hatch. A dead console waited, lightless. Jocks stripped more wire and jammed it into a line. The panel coughed and lit. Access denied. Syrah slammed her hand to the side plate and whispered a code, a prayer in her language. The plate blinked. Maintenance override. The door lifted a hand's width, a chest's width, a body's width. They slid inside. 98. The hangar was a graveyard. Broken wings. Scorched floor. Dust like gray snow. In the far corner stood a light frame glider. 2 narrow seats, thin skin, a small belly fan. One wing had a torn patch. The other was whole. Will it fly? Syrah asked. It will fall less fast, Jocks said. He found a roll of resin tape and a folded silver tarp. He patched the wing with quick hands, crisscrossing lines like a web. Ember climbed onto the nose and pressed its warm chin there, scales faintly glowing. The resin set faster. Jocks smiled. Thank you, Ember. 84. The warden spoke again, nearer, in every wall. Hangar depressurization armed. Red strips lit the floor. Drains opened. Air started to pull. A deep rumble rose below them like a slow sea. Jocks strapped Syrah into the front seat. He tied Ember to his chest with a belt. He locked his own harness and kicked the latch on the glider. The small fan woke and whined. 60. Drones punched through the hangar door and spread out in a ring like a hard halo. Needles clicked. Target. Dragon, the warden said. Jocks pulled a length of cable and snapped it across the floor. Heads down. He touched the cable to the battery and threw a spark. The arc cracked bright. For 1 second, the drone stuttered. He shoved the glider toward the launch strip. 42. Air roared louder. The hangar's far wall split. A thin line of stars showed. The line widened. Wind became a scream. Small bolts ripped from the floor and spun away like shining seeds. 30. Syrah gripped the frame, knuckles white. Jocks, she said, voice small. "I know," he said. He did not look scared. He looked like a man counting steps. He nudged the fan to full and aimed the patched wing at the widening night. 18. The glider rolled. The fan shrieked. Ember pressed close, warm against his ribs. 10. The warden finished the word. Purge. The hangar doors blew open. Space rushed in like a black river. The glider snapped forward, light as paper, and shot off the edge. Beneath them, the ruined world turned. Above them, the stars burned cold. Behind them, the drones leapt after metal teeth in the dark. The glider shot into the black like a thrown leaf. The fan screamed. The patched wing shook hard. Jocks held the stick tight. Sierra kept her eyes on the horizon. Ember clung to Jax's chest and hummed a low, warm note as if to calm him. Behind them, the drones poured out of the hangar, red eyes bright in the dark. The warden's voice was gone now. Only the chase remained. The planet below turned slow, half shadow, half gray light. Thin air kissed the glider's skin. The craft rattled. A seam popped. The patched wing tore a little. Sierra felt the jump in the frame. "Left wing." She cried. "I feel it," Jock said. He slid a belt free with one hand and looped it over the spar. He pulled hard, tying leather to bone. The tear slowed. The glider steadied for a breath. Then a drone fired a needle that cut a new hole in the patch. Jocks did not swear. He thought. He reached down and tore free the silver tarp they used before. He snapped it open and let it snap backward into the wind. It flashed bright and spun. The first line of drones swung after the moving shine. "Go eat, bugs," he said. Sierra looked back. "4 still follow," she said. "Fast ones." "Then we go faster," Jock said. They dipped, nose down, toward the dead world. The air thickened. Heat licked the edges. The glider trembled like a bird in a storm. Ember raised its small head and spread its wet wings against Jax's chest. Scales brightened. Warmth flowed into the air around the nose. The tremble eased. The airflow smoothed, as if the little dragon shaped it with heat and song.jax blinked once. "Good work, Ember," he said. "Hold that." The sky changed from black to deep blue. Clouds like ash smears rose to meet them. The first drone hit the thicker air wrong and spun. It caught its own wing and fell as a trail of sparks. The second drone closed to strike. Jocks kicked the glider into a roll. The drone smacked the frame and scraped, stuck there, blades chewing the skin. Sierra grabbed the bent tool from her belt and slammed it into the drone's eye. The eye burst with a sharp pop and smoke. The drone fell away and tumbled end over end. The third drone shot a needle that grazed Ember's side. Ember squeaked, anger and fear in one sound. Jock slapped his pocket, found the small metal tube from the hangar, an old vent pipe no longer than a hand. "Here," he said, showing it. "Small flame. Through this." Ember understood something in his tone. It leaned and breathed a thin blue thread through the tube. The tube hissed and shot a narrow lance of heat. The fourth drone took the strip of fire in its joint and locked. It pitched sideways and crashed into the last drone. Both fell like broken knives. They broke through the low clouds into ruins. Towers lay cracked like teeth. Streets were rivers of dust. The wind came in hard, from the side full of grit. The glider coughed and shook. "Landing," Jock said. "Hold on." He aimed for a long street between dead buildings. The fan whined to the end of its breath. The patched wing shuddered. The frame hit, bounced, hit again, and dragged sparks. Jocks kept the nose up. The glider slid to a stop against a pile of stone. The frame sighed and fell apart around them. Silence took a long breath. Sira unstrapped first and checked Ember's side. The tiny wound bled smoke, not blood, and then sealed under warm scales. Ember licked her glove and made a small sound like a bell. Jock stood and looked up at the sky. No drones, no warden voice. Only gray clouds and a pale sun. He did not relax. "Move," he said. "We will have searchers." They pulled the glider's belly open and took what they could: the cracked battery, a coil of wire, the metal tube, a roll of resin tape, 2 belts. Jock scanned the street. Old signs hung by one hinge. A fuel line broke from a wall and dripped black oil. He smiled just a little. He set the coil of wire across the street at ankle height, tied to a door handle. He soaked a line of cloth with oil. He cupped Ember's face. "A spark when I point." Soft spark. Sira stood watch at the corner. "Sound," she whispered. Little feet, many. They came out of the dust-ground crawlers. Small steel fast. The warden had left them here to sleep, and their ears heard the fall. Red dots blinked and grew .JAX waited. He let them come near. He lifted the battery in one hand, the wire tail ready. The first crawler hit the trip line. The door slammed. The row bunched, confused. Jocks touched battery to wire. The arc leaped like white lightning. Ember gave the soft spark into the oil. Fire ran in a line across the street and breathed up in a sheet. Crawlers screamed like kettles and died. The smoke rose straight into the gray sky. Sira pointed left. "There," she said, out above the dead towers. A thin red flare climbed and bloomed. It burned with a strange pattern, 2 short bursts, one long. Sira's voice was tight. "That is not my clan's color." Jocks watched the flare drift and fade. He felt Ember press close, warm and bright. He did not smile this time. "Someone saw us," he said, "and they want us to know." Dust still floated over the hot street. The flare's smoke made a red thread in the gray sky. Jocks led Sira and Ember into the shell of a broken store. Shelves lay like bones. He kept low. He watched the corners. Ember stayed close, warm at his side. Boots clicked on stone outside. Not heavy, not human. Sira lifted her head. Her eyes went wide. "That step," she said. "My people." Figures slid into the street. 5 in red-marked cloaks, masks like smooth shells. The front one moved like a blade. She took off her mask. Her skin showed silver lines, like Sira's, but her gaze was cold. "Sira of Lear," she said. "You live." Sira stepped out from cover, slow. "Captain Nix," she said. Her voice was tight. "We saw your color. We came." Nix's eyes went to Ember. The little dragon's scales glowed soft, like banked fire. Ember looked back, curious, then hid behind Jocks's leg. Nix kept her voice flat. "Report. A first dragon hatched. Bonded to a human." "Confirm?" Sira swallowed. "Confirmed." Nix lifted 2 fingers. The 4 scouts spread and closed a ring. Needlers ready. Calm faces. Calm hands. Cold air. JAX did not raise his hands. He stood easy but set his heel on a piece of wire on the floor. He measured the room. Door, window, broken pipe above them. Oil on the ground. He said nothing. Nix looked at Jocks like he was only a tool on a table. "Human," she said, "stand aside. The Xenocourt will take the dragon. The bond will be broken." Sira flinched. "Bond breaking kills," she said. "Old song says so." Nix did not blink. "Old songs do not run the court." Sira shook her head. "The court swore to guard first dragons. Not cut them. Guard them from humans, Nyx said. Her eyes were iron. Your histories burned worlds. Your machines woke stars and killed them. The court remembers. We will not let a human hold the first flame. Ember pressed tighter to Jox. The warmth in his coat became a small heat that matched his steady breath. He kept his voice calm. If you take Ember by force, he said, you make an enemy. If you let us walk, you make an ally. Nyx gave a thin smile. You are one man. We do not need one man. The floor speaker in the ceiling crackled. The warden's tone slid into the room like cold water. Correction. You need oxygen. This city is mine. Deliver the dragon to the vault, or you all die. Nyx did not look up. Machine, be silent. The warden obeyed no one. Hunter mechs are ready. Countdown, 60. Syrah stared at Nyx. Her hands shook. Captain, she whispered, he saved me. Ember chose him. If we take Ember, it will fight. It will die. And she stopped. Her throat worked. She looked at Jox, then at Ember. I cannot lead it to a blade. Nyx's eyes did not soften. You speak like a child. You forget law. Syrah's chin lifted. It was a small motion. It was everything. She stepped and stood in front of Jox. She faced her captain. I remember oath. To guard first fire. I stand with them. The silence was sharp. The scouts' hands tightened on their needlers. Nyx's jaw moved once, like stone grinding. Then you stand against the court. Against this order, Syrah said. Not against the people. Nyx nodded once to her scouts. Take the dragon. Jox moved first. He kicked the wire under his heel. It snapped and whipped the oil line. He threw the cracked battery. The wire sparked. A sheet of fire climbed the doorway. Ember breathed a small bright kiss to push it higher. Heat rolled. The scouts fell back a step, masks up, eyes narrow. Outside. Nyx shouted. They spilled into the street again, smoke at their backs. The sky darkened in a strange way, like a storm with no clouds. The ground under their boots gave a long sigh. Cracks opened in the road. From the splits rose long shapes of black metal, jointed and lean the hunter mechs. Eyes like knives, feet like hooks. The warden's voice came from the earth itself. Deliver the dragon, or be harvested. The hunter mechs climbed from the cracks like black spiders. Their eyes were silver knives. Their feet clicked on stone. The warden spoke from every wall and every pipe. Deliver the dragon, or be harvested. Jox did not wait. He pointed to a sun-faded sign half buried in dust. Bunker E-17. A thin hatch lay under broken stone. There, he said. He kicked free a slab, ripped the handle up, and pulled the hatch open. Cool air breathed out. Inside? He said. Syrah jumped first. Ember slid after her, a warm streak of light. Nyx and her 4 scouts hesitated for a half-breath, then followed. The mechs ran fast. Needles sang through the air. Dache X dropped in last and slammed the hatch. He shoved a metal pry bar through the rings. Needles hit the steel with hard pings. Down, he said. Move. They went down a narrow stair. Lights flickered awake, old and weak. The bunker smelled like cold metal and dry oil. Doors stood half open on both sides. Jox pushed into the first workshop. Tools lay where hands left them long ago. Coils of wire. Cloth rolls. Light plates. Broken helmets. A box of belt buckles. A cracked visor. Nyx lifted her needler. We make a stand, she said. We make a plan, Jox said. He looked at Ember. The hatchling shook with bright eyes and brave breath. Armor first. He cut a soft plate into a chest piece and 2 small shoulder guards. He lined the edges with cloth so they would not bite into scales. He used belt buckles to make quick straps. Ember stood very still while Jocks worked, head tilted, trusting. Sarah held the light and whispered steady words. Strong, brave, quick, wings? Sarah asked. Jax found thin ribs from an old folding fan. He taped them into light braces along Ember's wing bones, not tight, just enough to shape air. He wrapped the joints with resin tape. The tape warmed under Ember's breath and cured fast. For the flame, Jocks said. He took a short pipe and flared one end with a hammer. He fixed a circle of thin wire at the mouth, like a ring. Bite here. Breathe short. He slid the ring to Ember's teeth and strapped it with cloth. It looked like a tiny mouth guard. Sarah raised her hands. We need signs, she said. She made simple shapes. Palm down for hide, 2 fingers up for fly, flat hand cutting down for beam, hand to chest for warm, finger to lips for quiet. Ember watched, then copied the shapes with head and wing tips. It was quick. It was eager. It understood. Metal screamed behind them. The hatch above bent. The mechs came through the stair like night with claws. Positions. Nyx shouted. Her scouts formed 2 lines. Needlers flashed. The shots chipped armor, but did not stop the front mech. It leaped to the wall and ran sideways like a lizard. Left joint, Jocks said. He pointed. Sarah flashed the beam sign. Ember bit the ring and breathed a short blue line. The pipe hissed. The fire turned into a narrow lance. It cut the mech's knee like it was string. The leg folded. The mech crashed and sparked. Again, Jocks said, calm and dry. Breathe, short, aim. Ember burned 2 more lines, quick and clean. Joints melted. Hooks dropped. The scouts cheered once, sharp and bright, then fell quiet to shoot again. The room shook. Dust fell like gray rain. More mechs dropped through a ceiling vent. 2 at once. Fast. Jax snapped a wire across the floor and clipped it to a shelf. He held the cracked battery in his hand. On knee, he said. He stepped into the open, slow like bait. The mechs lunged. He kicked a tray of ball bearings. They rolled like steel hail. The mechs slipped for a breath. Jocks touched battery to wire. White arc. Hot noise. The mechs seized and shuddered. Ember's tiny flame kissed the oil line Jocks had spread. Fire ran like writing on the floor and rose in a sheet. Back! Nyx shouted. Heat filled the workshop. The mechs burned and thrashed. Jocks dragged a steel table to block the door. Sarah pulled Ember to cover and pressed her hand to its side. The scales were hot, but the heat was steady. The hatchling panted, then slowed, matching Jax's breath. Silence came in pieces. 1 mech still crawled, half alive. Jocks walked over and pushed its head under his boot. He did not smile. He did not speak. He pressed down until the light went out. A deep hum woke under the floor. The bunker light steadied and turned cold white. A wall at the end of the hall unsealed, inch by inch. Frost rolled out like fog. The warden's voice was soft now, almost kind. Priority asset access granted. The wall opened like the lid of a white tomb. Inside lay rows and rows of human cryopods. Pale faces behind glass, numbers glowing in blue. Jocks stared, chest tight. He was not alone, and the warden had just shown him its heart. Cold air rolled from the cryo hall. Frost kissed Jocks's boots. Rows of human faces slept under glass. Numbers glowed soft blue. Heartbeats ticked on tiny screens like distant drums. Nyx lowered her needler. Even she stared for a breath. So many, she said, voice small. The warden spoke, steady and low. Mission: protect human seed. The Empire hunts this vault. The dragon's heat risks system stability. Remove it. Ember tucked close to Jock's, warm and bright. Sira stood between the pods and the hatchling, chin high. First fire does not burn what it loves, she said. Data not confirmed, the warden replied. Jock's kept his tone calm. You can win a fight with us, he said to the air, but you will lose the vault when the Empire lands. You know this. Silence. Then a faint shift in the wall lights, like a blink. Threat. High, the warden said. Empire patrol within range. Offer. Conditional truce. Human Jax protects vault perimeter. Warden gives local control of defense. Nix's head snapped to Jock's. You would harm him? Only perimeter, the warden said. Only while the threat exists. Jock's nodded once. We accept. But hear me. Ember stays. Sira stays. Nix and her scouts fight with us. After the battle, we talk. Nix's jaw worked. She looked at the sleeping faces. She looked at Sira. She gave one hard nod. Fight first, she said. Argue later. The floor panels slid open to show a narrow control bay. Old human screens woke. A map of the city brightened, thin lines like veins. 4 defense turrets blinked dead red. Jock's moved like a man who had done this in dreams. He traced cables. He checked fuses. He pulled a manual lever and fed power from the bunker's deep cell. Turrets 2 and 3 will wake, he said. 4 is dust. 1 needs a heat key. He looked at Ember. Can you give me a breath? Just here. Ember stepped to the panel, bit the ring, and breathed the slow, gentle line into the heat key port. The coil glowed. The turret icon turned green. On the surface, wind rose and carried dust like ghosts. Nix sent 2 scouts up the stair with hand flares. Riders will come, she said. If they can. Sira checked Ember's wing braces. Strong, she whispered. Hold quick. Ember touched her hand with its warm nose, then turned to watch Jock's. The warden opened a steel locker. Inside lay small human gear, 2 visors, a bundle of flare balloons, and a ring of mirror plates. Jock's took the plates. He held one up to Ember's flame and saw how the beam narrowed more. He rigged a collar of mirrors on the mouth guard. Careful, careful, not tight. Short breaths, he said. Sharp, clean. Alarms sang, thin and cold. The map showed new lights at the edge of the ruins. Not red like drones. Not blue like turrets. Hard white. The Empire patrol. Positions, Nix barked. Her scouts ran up. Jock's gave Sira a visor. Watch left, he said. Call targets. Save Ember's breath for joints. They moved through broken halls to the surface. The sky was iron. The city was a maze of black teeth. Out of the dust rolled Empire crawlers, sleek, silver, low. Behind them walked tall walkers with 3 legs and guns like spears. Their hulls bore the mark of the Xeno court, old and proud. They do not come to talk, Sira said. Good, Jock said. Then we skip it. Turret 2 woke with a deep thump and threw a line of metal into the first crawler. It flipped like a coin and burned. The other crawlers spread. The walkers advanced, calm as towers with feet. Ember held the beam and cut a walker's knee. It hissed and knelt. Nix's scouts shot the exposed joint until it cracked. Sira called a target left. Jocks pelted bearings and lit oil lines. The ground turned into traps like words written in fire. For a breath it looked, like they might hold. Then the light changed. A shadow fell across the ruins. The wind went strange, sucked upward. Everyone looked up dot above the black towers. A shape slid out of the clouds, long, flat, and dark as night. An Empire frigate. Its belly opened like an eye. Heat built in the great lens inside, bright white, growing. The warden's voice was a whisper and a bell all at once. Orbital cannon charging. Target, vault hatch. Jocks raised his head. Ember's heat climbed against his chest. Sierra's breath caught. Nyx lifted her visor and stared. There was no more time to plan. The sky itself began to burn. The sky burned white. The frigate hung over the ruins like a dark mountain. Its belly high glowed. Heat built inside the lens. Stones cracked on the street. Dust lifted in a slow tide. The map on Jocks's visor showed one word from the warden. Target, vault. Look at me, Jocks said to the air. Not the hatch. He ran. He slid down a broken stair into the bunker bay and tore open the locker with the flare balloons. Silver bags. Thin tubes. A hand pump. He shoved them at Sarah. Fill. Fast. Hot. Sarah pumped. Ember leaned close and breathed warm in small puffs to swell the bags. Jocks tied mirror plates to each balloon with wire. Quick knots, tight hands. Nyx threw open a grill to the street. Cold wind roared in. Up, Jocks said. The first balloon leaped into the wind. Then 5, then 10. They rose and drifted across the ruins, mirrors flashing, heat pulsing. On the visor map, the warden's voice fell to a whisper. Decoys locked. Cannon retargeting. The frigate fired. A white spear fell from the sky and hit the biggest cluster. The blast punched a round hole in the city. Stones jumped like deer. The shock wave shoved air in a hot ring. The vault held. The hatch did not glow. Jocks's heart hit once, hard. Again, he said. Send them wide. Balloons went left, right, high, low. The cannon swung and fired again. Slower now, hunting. The heat lines on the map changed. The frigate began to overheat. Cooling lines exposed on belly, the warden said. Aft of the lens? 17 meters. Jocks looked at Ember. The hatchling met his eyes. Its wing braces hummed faint. It wanted the sky. This is your flight, Jocks said. High. Cut the line. Short beams. 3 breaths. Sierra tied a final strap on the chest plate. She pressed her forehead to Ember's. Fly. Come back. Nyx pointed 2 scouts at the rooftops. When the belly opens, board, she said. Take guns. Break teeth. Ember climbed Jocks's arm and stepped to the broken balcony. Wind kicked dust and sparks around its claws. It shook once, a small shiver, then spread its wings. It jumped. For a blink, it dropped like a stone. Then the braces caught air. The bright scales warmed the flow. Ember rose on the hot wind from the blast, higher and higher, a curve of light against iron cloud. Jocks watched with a still face and burning eyes. Left, Sierra said, hand to visor. Cooling line there, shine. Ember rolled, small and brave, and bit the ring. The mirror collar gathered the breath. A tight blue lance touched the silver pipe. The pipe flared and split. Steam burst. The cannon eye flickered. 2 more, Jocks said, voice low. Ember cut the second line. The cannon dimmed to a red coil. The third cut failed. Ember's breath shook. It circled once, found the last line, and gave one clean touch. The belly eye went dark. Doors opening, the warden said. Panels slid on the frigate's underside. Nyx's riders threw hooks and burned lines into the hull. They climbed like red sparks. Sierra raised both hands and spoke a fast code in her own tongue. Ship lights blinked. Inner guns stalled. Jocks ran through streets and up a stair as the frigate sagged. He threw bearings into a belly gun. It jammed and screamed. Ember dived and lanced the hinge. The gun died. Nix's boot hit steel. Her needler barked. The belly deck filled with hard noise and bright fire. The ship bled smoke. Dot it fell, dot. It hit the far sea with a sound like a giant drum. Steam climbed into the gray sky. Nix stood on a roof and watched that steam for a long breath. She did not smile. She nodded once. They went back to the vault. The warden spoke softly. Conditional truce fulfilled. Payment. Master code for 100 pods. No more. Lights moved along the rows of glass. Numbers changed. Faces softened. Water ran. Fingers twitched. A woman woke first. She coughed and cried and laughed all in one sound. A man opened his eyes and reached for a hand. Jock stood there and gave it. Engineers first, he said. Medics, farmers, we will need them. Syrah watched the waking with wet eyes. Ember curled around her feet, tired and warm, wings loose. Nix looked at Jocks. We are not done, she said. No, Jocks said. He looked up. The warden's voice came before his thought ended. Alert. New signatures. Multiple. Far orbit. The Empire knows the dragon lives. Jocks put his palm on the glass of an unopened pod. He felt the cold and the promise. He looked at Ember, at Syrah, at Nix. 2 paths, the warden said. Guard the vault, or carry the war to the stars. Jocks did not look away from the new lights in the sky. First of many, he said. We choose both.